Yeah, I was just gonna say
Double
I
X.
kind of like I like that. You guys do hats too?
I didn't get hats yet. Gotta get some.
Dude, you got to get hat. I would wear the shit out of a hat, though.
Oh yeah,
I promise.
for sure. Look at this. We
Yeah.
didn't even plan this. It's a hat.
I know. It's just kind of how it
because
is.
my thermostat, my Nest thermostat went down, so it's literally 90 degrees up here in my closed up pod room and I can't have fans going because the sound.
Right.
So I'm just gonna melt. I'm gonna melt.
Messing with here. The Nest over in this building isn't like working right, so I'm like,
Yeah, mine just like shit. I don't know what happened.
Jeez.
And it keeps
it's
going
hot
on
as
this
hell in here right now.
stupid ass eco mode. If I wanted eco mode, I would have moved to California. I am here to burn the oil. You know what I mean? Give me ice cold. I don't care what it costs. I'm not here to be eco friendly.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's offensive to me. But all right, boys, let us pod.
Do
Let
it.
me mute this. Bing, 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 bing. All right. Sip of water for the working man.
For the everyman.
For the everyman. All right.
Yeah.
All right, boys, ready?
Do it.
All right. 3, 3, 2, 1. The Everyman Podcast.
The Everyman Podcast.
We're here another week, another pod. This week, our guest on the show, he's an entrepreneur. He's a musician. He's an all-around everyman.
He's a
Ladies and
stud.
gentlemen,
He's a
coming
stud.
to you hot and ready like Little Caesar from the laboratory in the Garden State. Ladies and gentlemen, Aaron Barbarics. Aaron, how are you, brother?
Hey, what's up?
How you
Love it.
doing, man?
Good.
I see you're all posted up in front of that beautiful green wall. So right off the bat, man, tell us what's up. Where are you? What are you doing?
Right now I'm sitting in the workplace, Blackwood, New Jersey. Kind of wrapping up the day here and gonna go home and work on some tunes. It basically never stops. It's like music about 24/7 around here. So
That's not a bad way to live your life, though.
yeah, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Nice.
So let's rewind it here a little bit. Now you are the I'm not going to call you the better half, but you are the other half to our recent guest here, the lovely and talented Miss Farah DeMorte. And we all kind of got connected here through a mutual friend of Daryl's, and they said, hey, Everyman material, let's get it. And we had a great conversation with Farah. You guys can check that out in the archives here. It's on YouTube, it's on Spotify, it's on all the podcast platforms.
Everywhere.
A couple weeks ago, we talked about her modeling career and art and music and what she's got going on, her battle with breast cancer and how she overcame that. And now we're here to get the other side of the story. And so that's the groundwork there. So tell us, man, what's your deal? You're a musician, right?
Yeah, I'm a musician and guitar player primarily. Been playing for I can't do the math really, but I've been playing since I was like 15 years old and I'm 49. So
it's a good run.
It is. Yeah. Still going.
Yeah, still going, still play actively, still playing a couple bands. So
how did you get into guitar? Did you have because I find there's two stories. I'm a musician myself, and I was blessed. My father was a professional musician, and I had like the leg up from an early age. At 5 years old, I was playing and learning, from somebody who'd really done it at a high level for a long time. And then there was friends that I had that they were the first musician in their family of like 10 generations. No one had ever touched an instrument. How did you get into playing? Is it a family thing, or were you the first one?
No, so I was the first one. I think my mom played French horn, but she was definitely not an active musician or anything like that. Like,
it's pretty cool.
I was retired when she was in high school. So yeah, I kind of got it from I would say like when I was a little kid, I was primarily like a science nerd and a sports kid. You know, I played soccer, I played baseball, I played golf. My dad wanted me to be a golfer. Like I was playing golf since I could hold a club. So, and I was pretty good. And I guess I still am. I just don't never do it anymore. But I was like, I started like listening to rock music and stuff like when I was, 7 or 8 or 9. And then in high school, I can tell you exactly the exact moment. Actually, I was sitting on the school bus going to school. I was like 15. I was 15 years old. I was sitting there. I had my Walkman on with my Bon Jovi Slippery When Wet tape in.
Nice.
And I heard Wanted Dead or Alive, and there's like this little acoustic guitar intro to that. And I was like, man, that's really cool. I think I kind of want to do something like that. And I turned to my friend who was sitting next to me and I said, you know what, I'm going to learn to play guitar. And he said, oh yeah, I always wanted to learn to play bass. And so we like went out and bought guitars and basses and got lessons and started learning to play together. And he still plays with me now in our band with my wife Farah, Sunset Strip. So his name's Eric.
That's sick.
Awesome. Shout out.
That's sick.
Now, yeah. I want to talk about Sunset Strip because when Farah was telling us about the pod and or talking to us about her band on the pod there, and I figure you either strip club enthusiasts or you're children of the 80s,
right?
And have a a strong connection to some of those tunes. And I'm always listening to, I got the Sirius and the Jeep, and my top 3 channels are like, Metal Channel, the Bob Marley channel, gotta love the Bob, and then, hair metal. And I'm always, whether it's whites, it's funny, the day we left I think you'll appreciate this, Aaron, the day we left our old house in Levittown outside of Philadelphia for the last time, we closed the doors up. That was it. Just going to sail the next, going to closing the next day. Get in the car, turn on the ignition, the radio's on. Here I Go Again by Whitesnake starts playing, and I was like, God, couldn't have done this any better. Like it was like the soundtrack to my exit of Levittown. And there's some music, there's classic 80s hair metal that was at the time, that stuff was like number 1 mainstream. Like there was still like pop music similar to what it is now, but like those dudes were fucking running the shit, and Whitesnake and Warrant and you said Bon Jovi. Like Bon Jovi, a lot of people don't realize they were hair metal before, and then they kind of softened up. They were like one of the first ones to kind of get off the train in the 80s there. Motley Crue, just there's so much great music that unfortunately now the only time you hear it is like you go to a strip club and you're like, all right, cool, let's go. There it is. So it's cool to see you guys playing those tunes. So I'm guessing you must have been like a big, Van Halen, Motley Crue, Whitesnake, that kind of stuff. Once you started playing guitar. Yeah.
Like high school, that was it. Like that's all I listened to. It was hair metal stuff and like a lot of thrash bands. So
nice.
Your Anthrax, Metallica, Slayer, all that stuff. Yeah. Pantera. Yeah, they came later. Like the early big
they
four.
Had some hair metal stuff though. I mean, that's another one people don't.
They did.
You go way back, and you're like, is that the same? Like that cannot possibly be the same singer. And you're like, oh hell yeah, it is.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Like that was like all we listened to. I had long hair. We dressed like the part. We did the whole thing.
Were you dressing like a hot chick and all that?
Yeah, well, kind of. I probably followed a little bit more like the Metallica, like jeans and t-shirt kind of look.
You weren't doing the eyeliner and the lip gloss and all that?
Nah, that wasn't my thing so much, but
that's one of those things.
Sunset Strip really is kind of more like that. Although obviously I'm not looking like that right now. So.
That's one of those things where you look back on it and it's like, I wasn't there. I was born in 89. So it's like, what exactly were you going for here? Like, cause it's hard out of context to understand how this look was like badass. Like you look like a hot girl,
Chicks loved it.
Oh yeah.
I guess so.
Yeah.
I guess
They loved it.
They had
loved
to.
it.
They must have.
And the more they loved it, the more the guys did it.
They're like, oh,
Absolutely.
You want to fucking see me tease this hair? I'll tease the hair.
Yeah, that was what happened.
Brother Jeff, you check that WordPress article, like they have a picture of you, Aaron, and like your hair is long as shit, bro. And it's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't see which one you had.
you got to check it out. It
was like waist length at one point. Yeah,
dude. Yeah, I can't tell based upon the picture if it went past your shoulders, but it was definitely to your shoulders. I was like, oh, that's nuts, man.
I had it pretty damn long for a long time, most of my life actually, until Farrah and I had been dating for about maybe a year.
Mm-hmm.
So except for the last 5 years, my hair has been long since I was like 15 years old. So,
dude, sick.
I had a good run, long hair, and then as I got older, I did shorter long hair versions. But yeah, it's part of the cross to bear, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How else is everyone gonna know you shred?
Yeah. It's true.
Now I'm just like, now I have a beard.
Yeah, you know, it's the metal on the inside still. Now, so what were some of your, you know, influences when you started out, as far as guitar players go?
I would say like probably my favorite like of that era was George Lynch.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Dokken,
yeah. Into the fire. Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah,
he was
probably
Tiger
my
Stripe.
favorite. I was kind of obsessed on his stuff when I was younger, and of course, like Van Halen, and
he's jacked too. Still.
Yeah, he's still like not like he was at one point. He was like bona fide bodybuilder.
Yeah,
and competing and stuff in that, and then now he's just, you know, he stays fit. You know,
he's just
still rocked up.
I follow him on social media all the time, and like he's funny. He like still does great stuff, and he still shreds. He's amazing.
Nice.
Oh, he's a great player. I always loved his signature guitar, that Tiger Stripe, crazy colors, and
the Kamikaze. Yeah,
awesome. It's hard to, you know, there's only a handful of iconic guitars, right? Like, you know, the Les Paul, an Eddie Van Halen Wolfgang, you know, even you could say now a John Petrucci model, you see that, you know, you pretty much know what it is. And then like, it's hard. Zach Wilde, then he did the Bullseye, you know, like it's hard to come up with a look that becomes you know, a thing. And he definitely fit the bill there.
What he kind of had two, because he had one that was like a skeleton too. I don't know if you saw that one.
Oh yeah, he's had every year at NAMM I would see at the ESP booths, like every, you know, they put out a variety of different color versions of it. Always a sick guitar. And Dawkins, that's one of those bands that gets kind of, maybe if you were there, I don't know, but looking back, they kind of get lost in the shuffle, because now I think the music historians would have you think it was like, it went from Led Zeppelin to Van Halen, and then Metallica happened, and that's it. Nobody else existed. Like, there's no other, you know, like there's no other. And it's like, well, I mean, you know, like you said, Anthrax and Slayer and Venom, and shout out to Anvil. Even Anvil was one of those bands that kind of talk about. Have you ever seen that film, the Anvil documentary?
No, I've heard about it. It's kind of like on my list. I got to get to it.
So, and this is I'm gonna indulge myself here for a moment. I highly recommend anyone, musician or not, you check out the Anvil documentary. And essentially these guys they're Canadian, and they had like one hit song. It's called Metal on Metal. And they, like, that record came out before, you know, Metallica even put out an EP or anything. And like, those guys all were into it, and it was like a big influence for them. And the way this documentary opens, it's them in like 1980 playing in some enormo dome in Tokyo, and there's like 100,000 people there, and everyone's singing their song, and they're fucking on top of the world. And then it cuts to them like in 2006 or whatever, and it's like, you know, they're living in squalor, and like no one knows who they are, and like they're still going, but like they influence all these young bands that went on to revolutionize the metal world, and they just got left behind. And they did this documentary where like they there's an amazing scene, and Aaron, I'm sure you can relate to this, where like you go on the road, you play a gig, and like you're supposed to get paid, and then they're like, well, there's actually, not only is there no stage, there's no sound guy, there's no audience. It's actually, you know what I mean? Like it's everything that you thought it was, it's not. And then like you go to play, and then they're like, they're in like the Czech Republic, and they play this gig in this restaurant, and they were supposed to get paid, and the guy's like, no, I don't have any money. And then he's like, we'll pay you in goulash, like soup, you know.
Oh,
but
God.
but the best part is they like have a meltdown, and they're like, fuck this, you know, like going crazy, and then like, I don't want the soup, and then they're leaving. The, you know what, can I have the soup? Like it's in a nutshell. And like, so I saw this this was before I started my music. Like I always been a musician. I hadn't had a chance to pursue it full time yet. I was still in school, and before all my health stuff, and I was a manager at a Best Buy Musical Instruments. It was like a test run. They only had a couple locations, and it was like a full blown Sam Ash or Guitar Center inside of Best Buy. It was awesome, great job. And so my manager, the GM of the store, he saw the documentary, loved it, and we would bring in people to do like signings and shit. So Anvil was playing the TLA down in South Street, and he like hires we book them to come do a signing of the DVD, because the DVD was like, it was huge. It like made them a ton of money, brought them back to relevancy. Like, he gave them a little second run. So we get a limo. My boy, shout out to Eric Fliegelman, and I take this limo down to South Street. We get there, and here comes Lips and Rob Reiner, the drummer. And we're in the back of this limo, and I'm like 19 years old, bright-eyed, world ahead of me. I can make it in the music business kind of thing. And Eric goes, you know, Justin's a drummer. And he goes, oh, like that. And then I was like, okay. He's like, and he's like, you like want to do it for real? And I was like, yeah, that's what I'm working on right now. And I go, do you have any advice for me? And he looks me square in the eyes. He's like, don't do it. Just don't do it. Just stop now. Just give up now.
Jeez.
Don't do it. I'm telling you, don't do it. Like it wasn't like he didn't just say it like one time. It was like let me be perfectly clear. It's hopeless and there's no point, you know? And I'm thinking like, well, this is odd. Like you've been and they were like doing plumbing and shit in Canada. And then they put this DVD documentary out. It gives them a whole new lease on their career. They're like back on the Billboard charts. We're picking them up in a goddamn limo at the TLA to come do a signing where there was like 200 people waiting to meet them. And he was like, no, don't do it. It's not worth it. You'll just end up killing yourself or addicted to drugs. And I'm like sitting there like 19 years old in this limo, this guy who's like, he's a great drummer, you know? And he's just telling me like, just fucking don't do it, man. Don't do it. And then I remember getting out of the limo, looking at Eric. I was like, all right. You know, and then it was like the weirdest. It was so awkward. And then we took them back, and it was just like, you know, what are you going to do? And Lips' big claim to fame, Lips, the singer, is he does a guitar solo where he uses dildos and vibrators. Dude, look it up. I'm telling you, everyone listening to this is like, this can't be real. Look it up. Anvil guitar solo on YouTube, and you will see this gangly, long-haired, kind of looking like a goblin guy using this giant vibrator on his strings, like an EBO or like a, you know.
Wow.
You remember the EBOs, like the magnet thing?
Oh yeah, I got them.
Yeah, I got one too. And yeah, so great show. Not really good advice. Glad I didn't listen to him. And
glad you didn't listen to him either, because otherwise I wouldn't have had some kick-ass shit to play here at NFL Film.
That's right. Right. I know. So like I think back, and I hope that someday I'll be in a position to reverse that. You know, some young kid will come to me and be like, oh, I want to be like, you know what, you should do it. You know, don't listen to Rob Reiner. He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about.
It's crazy, dude.
Yeah, you guys would enjoy that. So you're developing now. Did you want to be a full-time musician? Like, did you know, or pretty early on, that like you were gonna give it a go? Like, did you want to be like a touring musician? Did you want to just write? What did you want to do?
Yeah, I think that was part of what I wanted to do when I was younger. And I did do a lot of original music. I was in a bunch of original bands for a lot of my musical life. Nothing really caught on until I was kind of older, though, and I was in this band called Teos, Teos, and that was like a metal band, and that was like when I was like 30 something, and that lasted for like 7 or 8 years, and we had like a really good run in Philly, where we, were playing like to rooms full of people, and we were getting all kinds of offers for like opening up for this band coming through town and this band and all that. We went and did some dates with like Josh Todd from Buck Cherry, a little like leg of a tour. We did some like real cool stuff with that band. But it sort of fell apart because everyone in the band was like with families and too old to kind of like take it anywhere. Because by the time people started to really like want to get us out there, they're like, all right, so we want to get you on the road with like so-and-so. And we were like, well, how much are you going to pay us? And they're like, well, you get like $15 a day. And we were like, that's not going to pay for my house and my car, my, all my other stuff. And all the other guys in the band, my kids and stuff. So that sort of would put the nail in that. We were like, I guess we're not going to be rock stars after all. So
it's so hard, man. And it's like, I think about it a lot, because I had an intentional pivot point where I was like, I've got 2 roads ahead of me. Like, I know I can do this, and I have the groundwork, and I have the connections, and I can most importantly, I have the chops, but do I, at 26 or 27, whatever it was at the time, 28, maybe, do I want to spend the next 18 to 25 years living in a van and loading my own shit to get to the point where I could have a sort of comfortable salary sort of thing and not be loading a van? And then I'm like, no, because I realized as much as I love performing and as much as I love music and playing with my brothers and I mean, I don't have to tell you, man, like you get up on that stage and something happens to your brain and it makes everything worth it. I'll drive to Buffalo for no money and you know what I mean, in one day and play and come back. Like, sure, you know what I mean? Like I'll go play bike week in South Carolina for $100 for 2 weeks. Like, you'll do these crazy things because of the drug of performance. But then I realized, like, I want to have things. I want to have a nice house. I want to like get married and have children and like, and it's like, it becomes a thing where it's like, am I just like stroking the ego of my 15-year-old self at this, like, and you get the doubt and it's so much a mental thing. And it's, and I don't want to, young musicians that I know listen to this podcast, I don't want them to think, this is us dissuading them, but it's like a balancing act. And you've really got to make sure that like, that's what you want to do. It's not easy.
Yeah, for sure. And I often talk to like, young people that are coming in the store, and they're in bands and they're getting things happening, they're getting good, things are happening. And I want to encourage them. I always kind of like, if pressed about it, I'm like, look, it's a young man's game.
Yeah.
Like, if you're 17, 18 years old and you're ready to get in that van and cross the country, like playing for nothing and lugging your gear, do it. Like, that's the time to do it. You have no responsibilities in life, so just get out there and do it. Like, take your shot. But there does come a point for most people where it's like, all right, this isn't practical. Like, I can't really do that. And I know people that have pushed through it anyway and made it, and I know people that pushed through it and now they're still nowhere. So
right, it's a gamble. And like, I was just out of town we just moved to Texas, like I was saying, and for work I had to go out to San Francisco for like 20 days. And we just got married in the fall of 21, and it's like, being away from my wife for that long, and I was like, man, again, if 32-year-old me would go back and tell 22-year-old you that, yeah, you're going to be missing your girl so much that you can't imagine. And I'm like, the fuck happened to me? You know, like I used to be the man, you know, and it's like, and now you're like, your life changes and things happen. And, you know, we wouldn't have this podcast here if I continued that path. So it's like I couldn't imagine being on the road for any extended period of time now. You know, now with life the way it is, and you said, like, you know, you have a kid, you get, you know, bills and a mortgage payment. Next thing you know, you're like, I'll chill.
Right.
So, Aaron, the one thing I love, kind of like the cross-studying here, like Brother Jay, you started kind of with retail, you know, Best Buy, that type of thing too. You know what I mean? Like, Aaron, you kind of did the same thing. Like you were like disc makers and like a couple other places. Like, tell us about that, because I'm sure that had some type of, you know, additive effect to your music career and kind of, you know, keeping you going. And then more importantly, now with the laboratory and your online business, like how did you, you know, hit that everyman entrepreneur muscle?
Yeah. So I wanted to stay in, you know, I always wanted to work around music stuff. So I initially got a job like at a Sam Ash. There's one in Cherry Hill. I worked there when it first opened up.
I worked at Sam Hill.
Are you serious?
Cherry Hill. Hell yeah. I was just about to say, which one? Yeah. Right by the mall.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I worked there. You know, when it first opened for like, maybe like 6 months, and they were not like really like utilizing me. I couldn't get on the sales floor. They were like making me like check bags at the door and stuff. And I was like, this job's not for me. So I went and worked at like a little independent store that was down in Turnersville called Old Town Music, which is still there. And they're like primarily like a musical lessons place now. But back then they were like a retail store. And I kind of managed their store for a number of years. And then I went to Disc Makers, which is a CD manufacturing place. You guys are familiar with that?
Right there. I haven't heard of Disc Makers in a long time.
What's crazy is, so when I went to work there, I was just like employee number, like maybe 200. And they had like 5 offices all around the country and stuff like that. By the time I left there, they had like 500 employees. They were growing like crazy. Then like 2 years after that, they were back to like 200 employees. Whoa. Because of what you know, with streaming and stuff. And but maybe even more interesting that is they're still around and they're actually doing really, really well. They're kind of like the last man standing. So anyway, they're still there. And like, you know, I still know a bunch of people over there and all that. But I spent 10 years there. I really learned a lot about business, about marketing. And I really started to realize I had the bug to just do my own thing though. And I had done well enough there to be able to put away money to start a business. So I, you know, after a while I said, okay, guys, thanks for everything. And I went on my way and I started the laboratory with 2 other guys that we were all working at Disc Makers at the time. And we just thought we could do like kind of a better store. Like we were going into like the Guitar Center and the Sam Ash and Cherry Hill and kind of being disappointed, like standing at the counter for 20 minutes waiting for someone to ring us up for drumsticks and stuff. Like it was just like, you know, it's not that hard. Like it's got to be a way to do this better. You know, so that was our initial idea.
It got to a certain point for me with music stores where like, and I don't want to sound like a snob because I'm generally not a snob, you know, with anything. I enjoy fine things, but I'm especially coming from having a long time in retail. I try to be very cool with retail people. I know how hard it is. But I would like go in and I'm like a professional sponsored drummer who's quite good, if I may say so myself. And I would go in and I'd say, I need 4 pairs of the ProMark 5B nylon tip Japanese oak. And then some kid who's going to be there for a week, maybe 3 weeks max. Yeah, well, have you tried out and it's like, listen, give me the drumsticks. I'm not here. Like, and that's when I stopped going into stores, and I just started buying everything online, or my sponsors would send it to me. Like, you like, just don't, I don't want to be sold to. I'm not here. I'm here to acquire my raw material. It's like, that's the problem with music retail right now, is like, if you go into Home Depot, if you're a contractor and you go into Home Depot, you go up to the pro desk and you're like, yeah, I need 1,000 sheets of plywood. And then they go, oh, okay. They just trust. They don't even trust. They just know that because you're at the pro counter, you're a professional. You know what you're fucking there for. So I'm going to give you the shit you ask for. I'm not going to tell you like, oh yeah, well, have you heard about the new 5/8, zebra wood? No, right. I'm here for the plywood. Give me the plywood. I got shit to do. There needs to be like there has to be retail for people that have no idea, that need to be educated and sold to. And Guitar Center, when they put everybody out of business, they didn't know, do we want to be mainstream retail like a Target or a Best Buy and just sell cheap shit to whoever wants to walk in the door? Or do we continue to service the customers that got us here? And it's like they made a very bad decision to go the other way. And now you go into a Guitar Center, there's no one working there. You see the same 10 guitars on the wall that you see in Cherry Hill or Philly or Los Angeles, doesn't matter where you go. Same instruments, same crappy setups, same crappy amps. And now they're dying to do lessons. Like, that's their whole thing, because they put all of the small lesson places out of business that were like, doing a couple guitar sales or amp repair or whatever, and then also teaching lessons. Those places are gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the truth. I mean, they just they don't do what they used to do very well, and there's a lot of reasons for it. And some of it gets to be like a little bit crazy because they were bought up by like a capital,
Bain Capital. Mitt Romney that was his thing.
And then they loaded the company up with debt, and then the company can't make any money, and it's just defaulting on its debt.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have bad leadership. You have people that aren't musicians and stuff that are like at the top that don't understand the customers, and it's a mess. Like, it's just what happens. That's major corporation like version of, or that's what you get when it's like just a giant corporation trying to like cater to a bunch of creative people. It's not going to work really.
And I love Best Buy. I continue to be a Best Buy shopper. Loved my time at Best Buy. I learned so much. Again, shout out to Eric. Learned so much that I use to this day, with managing people, and Best Buy, they treated the MI thing like that. Like, they're like, well, we're really good at selling boxes of shit. This is no different. And I was like coming in there trying to tell these people, like, listen, it doesn't work like that. Like, you've got to you don't just come in and just buy it. Not every guitar is the same. Like, what do you mean not? And it's like, no, they're not all the same. Things change. You got to play them. It's going to take time. It takes time to build up a customer base. You got, like, they had never gone and bought an instrument as a musician to try and understand what it is that you're looking for. And they tried to treat it like it was no different than a washing machine or a television or a computer or whatever. Like, oh, it gets in, it comes up, you put it up there, people want it and they buy it and they leave. It's like, no, dude, it's not that simple. Yeah. What if you get one that's got wonky frets? How many times you've gone into a guitar shop, Aaron?
Well, I just lost my thing.
There you go. How many times you gone into a guitar shop and you play 5 different strats and 4 of them are shit?
Oh yeah, it happens all the time, right? So.
Right. But like, at the same time, when you go to buy a new truck, you drive 5 Jeep Gladiators, they're all probably going to be the same. Like, it's like, music is just, and then on top of it, like, you don't go into a JC Penney's and be like, yeah, I see that sweater is $69. What's my price? Like, there's music retail is the last place you can you can haggle and barter with people. And it's like, they didn't want to do that. And you're like, well, you kind of have to, like
that's just how it is.
That's just how it is.
And you also, you need that people too that are like, oh, hey, Justin, what's up, man? More of those Oak 5Bs. Here you go.
Right.
Where are you playing this weekend? Have a good one, man.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
You need that. That's
like,
yeah.
Like,
but I think as a whole, we're heading back to more small group things. I think we've, not to get into a whole other podcast, but I think we've reached peak group activity in this country. And I think from everything from sporting events to how people live to how people shop, I think everything's going to start scaling back. At least I hope, and a little bit more of a neighborly, you have your neighborhood meat store, your neighborhood, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of why we reopened the retail store now. After taking a bunch of time off from it, it just felt like a good time for it. There's definitely a movement among people to shop local and patronize independent businesses versus big companies and stuff like that. So there's definitely good things go in that direction, at least as far as I'm concerned. So
did you miss that like sense of community and just kind of like seeing the customers and knowing the customers, like you were talking to
I missed it
about,
a ton. I missed it tons. So like I'll give you the real quick version of what happened. So I had this store, it was in Deptford, New Jersey. It was there for 10 years. It was doing great. It was like we were killing it. And we had really built up a great reputation. We had people driving, people coming over from Philly, from North Jersey, from Delaware were coming to the store. We were like a real pro shop kind of store. And I had this opportunity to expand, and I had been thinking about moving into like a larger place as it was with that store. And then this guy I knew was retiring, and he had a store down in Egg Harbor, down near the shore.
Oh, Egg Harbor.
And I made a very quick, bad decision to take over that store as a sort of an expansion move. And it was a mistake for like a whole bunch of reasons. Like it's so obvious in hindsight, but at the time it seemed like this great opportunity. So I went into that store. I didn't have like the right staff to manage a store while I wasn't there. And things like that. So, and then there was like a huge like micro recession in that Egg Harbor area because like a whole bunch of casinos closed, and like everyone that lives down there works in the casino industry or related to it. So it was like ended up being a disaster. It was like a big anchor around my neck, and I got like really stressed out and fed up and just kind of burned out. And so after doing it for a few years with 2 stores, I just closed it all up.
Oh man.
And then I still did business online and stuff, but I also went to work in some other industries and just, I was kind of like, this, I'm done with this retail thing, like blah, blah, blah. I'm never going back. And fast forward a few years, we're in the middle of COVID, and I can't stand the place I'm working. I'm working for like this flooring company. I'm like, this sucks. What am I doing? And Farah's kind of like, you should probably open the store, like a music store again. And I was like, well, you know what? I have these ideas to make.
There you go.
And it gets into my whole, like, so this rental business that I have some plans for that we haven't really launched yet, but that's where we're heading with this thing. But so she kind of was like the one who's like, I don't think you're really gonna be happy until you're back talking to musicians every day and stuff like that. And I was like, you're right. And as soon as we were back here, like, she was just like, yeah, you're kind of back where you belong now.
Nice.
You're talking to musicians every day and, helping them out, and helping kids get started and do all that stuff. That's, so.
Yeah, dude.
It's like a subculture, the musician world, and like it exists and most people are unaware of it, and you do miss it when you get out of it. So tell us about the laboratory. Like what is it, what's the vision, where is it, and what do you guys do?
So it's e-commerce and brick and mortar retail. Our storefront is in Blackwood, New Jersey, which is right outside of Philadelphia. It's like that part of it is a traditional music store. We're a full line store. We have guitars, drums, keyboards, PA equipment, recording gear, accessories, all all that stuff. And, we sell that stuff and we sell online, and we do a lot of that because that's the way the world is now. We teach lessons. We have a bunch of lesson studios. I'm sitting in one of them right now. We rent like a lot of gear, like PA gear and stuff like that for bands that need like a PA system for a gig, or maybe they don't have something big enough, or maybe they need extra monitors or whatever. Yeah, we kind of do all that stuff. My vision for this is to take the rental thing like a step further than really anyone has done before, which is to rent everything. Guitars.
The whole backline.
But not just to like touring bands. If a guy wants to come in and just like try out like a few pedals, I'll just rent them to him and let them try them out, or whatever. And then really the next step from there is I want it to be a membership, like a club. So you pay your monthly dues to be in the club, and you can come take, like, if you're at the basic level, maybe you can come take like 2 or 3 items out of our inventory at a time, like as if it's a library, and use what you want, try it out, blah, 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 and be like, you know what, this like symbol's not doing it for me. Bring that back, take out a different one while you still got the other ones. And you can hold on to that stuff and use it as long as you want, as long as you're paying your membership fee every month. And, it's kind of like a lending library type of thing for gear, which I think is going to be really appealing to people now that there's so many options out there of like stuff. There's like, if you're a guitar player, there are thousands of pedals. Like, oh god, how are you ever going to like really know which one's right unless you get to try a bunch? Right. I'm giving you a way to do that. You can come in, swap pedals, get stuff that you need, or maybe like you just need something that you're going to use for a song on a recording, and you're only going to use it like one time. You don't need to buy like that 12-string electric guitar. Right.
And like, see, that's working music retail for as long as I did. Like, you would get these assholes that would come in and be like, oh, I need a PA system, and they'd buy a full PA system. Then they'd take it, have a party, blow out 2 of the speakers, and then bring it back and return it. And like, or like a whammy pedal at the Sam Ash. I worked at the Sam Ash in Franklin Mills, and shout out to the Franklin Mills. Goof. And you would have like, for some reason, whammy pedal. Like people would come in and buy it, and they'd use it for like one song on a record, and then they'd return it because it's like, who the fuck needs a whammy pedal all the time unless you're in Rage Against the Machine or doing a Rage tribute? Like, there's not much use for this one dedicated piece. So that like, and like that, but see that buy return, that affects how much it costs for somebody who does want to buy it and keep it forever. It's overhead for the companies, makes everything go up, for the retail store. So like that eliminates that issue of, trier's remorse. And, I'm a drummer, but I also dabble with guitar, and like I always laugh at my guitar players, like the never ending quest for the tone, Yeah. And it's funny, like my dad is always, he's been a musician his whole life, and he's just getting into electric guitars now. And when I was like in high school, and I kind of switched over to guitar full time, and I was constantly buying a guitar and selling it, buying it, trading it, getting another one, rebuilding it, selling it. And he was always like, oh, I don't get why you don't understand, like just get your guitar and fucking stick with it, whatever. And then now my dad's like, oh, I need a baritone for this, and I gotta go get this pedal and then this chorus pedal. And I just smile like ear to ear every time. And I'm like, yeah, how about that? Huh? It's like, you realize now it never ends. You're never gonna get the sound you want.
Right. You get gas.
That's right.
Yeah.
You get that gear acquisition syndrome. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's bad. It's a real thing, man. That's an awesome idea,
dude. That is fucking sick, though. That's pretty sick.
I'll tell you what, as they say.
As
they say out here in Texas. I'm in the market for a new Shure microphone for the podcast, so I'll be hitting you guys up for some e-commerce.
Yeah, we got it.
I want that Joe Rogan special. I need that SM7B. You guys carry that?
I got it.
Oh, hell yeah. And a little cloud lifter to get my dBs up. Let's go.
New or used.
Perfect. It's got to be new. I would feel weird breathing on somebody else's microphone.
Aaron, do you package that with lessons, because I got people here at NFL Films that like want to get into like music and shit, but they don't know what the fuck they want. They just like guitar, acoustic, whatever. Like, so does that, again, I know this is your vision, but will it also kind of like pair itself with the lessons that you teach? Hey, like, I know you don't know what the hell you need, kid. So here's the package that I think you should start with, and you can rent that out, and then we'll go from there. Like, how does that work?
Yeah, actually, you exactly one of the things that I love about the fact once as a business you commit yourself to rentals, it opens up all these ideas. So
yeah,
with kids taking lessons, like let's just use guitar as an example. It's an easy one. A kid comes in, usually they have a really crappy beginner guitar that their parents bought on Amazon for like $100, or they want to buy one for like $100, which is going to be a piece of junk. It's going to have lousy action. It's going to play bad. It's going to have sharp frets. It's going to be terrible. So it's actually not going to help them get good at guitar. So it's counterproductive. So what I would rather do is have them be part of our rental program or club, and just be like, here's a high quality guitar. Like, here's a $500 guitar for you to start on that you can just have while you're taking lessons. And if you don't want to play that one, like say it's a Strat and you'd rather try like a Les Paul or a Flying V or an acoustic guitar or a bass, you can just come in and swap it. Like, and at your next lesson, you got a different guitar. And it doesn't matter to me because I'm still collecting the rent. So I don't care which one you take, but it's better for the kids because they're going to have a high quality instrument. They're going to have the one they want to play. They're going to stay more interested. They got variety. They can change from a red one to a blue one to a black one. I don't really care. And it keeps it more fun and interesting for them, I think. Same thing like with an amp.
Absolutely.
You can just swap out an amp. You can go from one amp to another. So yeah. And then what I'm doing right now is I'm having new kids that sign up get to have like the rental for free for 3 months. And then after
that's sick. That's sick.
Perfect for the summer.
Yeah. And then after that, they're in.
To come kind of full circle, like what I was mentioning earlier about like, I had the blessing of my father being a musician. If you're a parent and you have a creative child who's at least interested in the arts, and you don't, not for lack of trying, it's just wasn't your thing. And you go and you're like, okay, I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to get my kid a nice little, I know Fender. You go to Walmart or Sam's Club, wherever, you see these like the $299. I don't know if they're still $299. They used to be $299. It's like the Squier Strat pack, and it's like a decent Strat with a gig bag, a little 10-watt amp, and the picks and the the book, all that shit. And you're like, okay, this must be, I recognize this brand. This must be good. It's $300, right? You get it for your kid. They take it home. The action is terrible. Now, Darryl, when we're talking about the action, we're talking about basically the string height over the frets. And usually these guitars that are mass produced, they're not really set up. A setup is like fixing the intonation. So it's actually in tune up the neck. So like an E here is an E up here. And then what's the lowest possible height I can get these strings where everything is still in tune and it doesn't vibrate and it's comfortable to play. And there are some people who are crazy people like a Stevie Ray Vaughan, rest in peace, who liked a high action, but he would play these heavy ass strings and he had some fucking hands on him and he's digging into the neck. Then you have like the scallop fret guys who high action isn't enough, like Yngwie Malmsteen, and he needs the fretboard to actually be lower so he can get in even deeper and get even higher pitched, half turns and shit. But if you're like a 9-year-old who just like wants to fucking play,
right? Just want to play,
and you get one of these fucking things out of the box, and you physically do not have the hand strength to press the frets in, that's gonna, and not only that, but it's like you're essentially digging your fingers into steel wire that's really tight. Like it's not an easy thing to get a child to do. And then like the parent thinks like, hey, I just bought this kid this nice thing, which yeah, you did, but they don't have the knowledge that like there's an extra step. You need to take this guitar to his shop, have the guy set it up, put some lighter gauge strings on it, give your kid a bigger pick, You know what I mean? Sit them down and explain it to them. They just think like, again, like it's like buying a kid an Xbox, and you buy him an Xbox and here you go, here's the controller, have at it. Having that knowledge, you know, like the resource to be like, hey, look, like you said, you're not sure if you want this. Here's a guitar, and it's set up, ready to go. Like it's probably, I would assume, you would be comfortable playing it. You know what I mean, Aaron? Like,
right, yeah,
you're gonna play it. It should be no problem for this kid. And like, that's one of those things where it's like this secret knowledge of being a musician that unless you've got somebody that's a musician already, or like, you know, it's kind of hard to do that. And I wonder how many kids get turned off of music. You know, I mean, dude, it'd be like, you know, in football, like you'd be like sending kids out with no pads.
Yeah, dude.
And be like, what do you mean you don't like this?
Yeah.
What's not to like? You're like, I'm getting my ass kicked here.
Or too big, or pads are too big, the helmet's too big,
or a mouth guard that's
it's
for
like,
me,
what are you doing?
Your shoes are the wrong size. Like,
right.
You can't do it.
What are we doing?
Exactly.
You need a neck brace, kid. That's what you need. Like, what? No.
Right. Get the big neck collar on you. But that, dude, that's awesome. And you know, I always used to tell my customers, you know, they were buying it for the first time, like, hey, look, go a little up, get a little bit better. Let us set it up for you. And then you would have people again, and this is the one thing, be like, so why are you selling stuff that's not ready to go? It's like, I don't have time to explain to you supply chain and economics and, you know, global industry, but just like basically they're selling you a piece of shit to get it out the door. That, you know what I mean? Like you got to put a little work into it.
Yeah, it's like, okay, if you want a guitar that is $199, the only way you're going to get a guitar that's $199 is it's going to be made by kids in China, and they're not going to set it up. They're going to slap it. They're going to slap it together. They're going to throw it in a box, and they're going to send it to you. That's the only way you're going to get your guitar at that price point. If you want something nice, it just costs more. Like that's what it is. So
I'm not going to say where it was. It wasn't Best Buy, but I sold a Strat Pack once that came back. Like you would sell them like early December, you know, the parents would put it away for Christmas. And then like, you know, immediately after Christmas, there'd be a couple parents that come back and be like, this is whatever. I remember having one come back that the headstock was like, the decal that they put on it was completely upside down. And it's like, how do you put the logo on upside down? Like imagine you go buy a Toyota Camry and the fucking logo it's a Chevy logo. You'd be like, what? Like it's just how does this work? You know? And it's like you see those kind of things and you understand why. And nowadays, like that World Music Factory in South Korea, doesn't matter what instrument you buy, they're all made in the same place by the same people. And it's like they've got one production line where the guitar goes through, it comes off, and it goes into a box and it dies. Then the same people, then they set it up, you know, or they attempt to. And you get some interesting finds when you're working music retail and you put a few of those things out there. That's awesome, man. So how many, I mean, I'm not asking you to get into details of your business here, but I mean, how many lessons are you guys doing a month roughly? Like, is that primarily your main thing is lessons?
No, it's not. It's really sales and rental is our first business. But when you have a brick and mortar store, the lessons are kind of, if you know how to do it right, it's like just a smart move because it can run itself without a lot of administration once you have it set up right, and your lessons can basically pay for all your overhead.
Oh yeah.
And then your sales are like just, you know, your icing. So right now, since we just reopened, we don't have that many students yet. We have 3 instructors on staff and we got like a dozen students. We've been doing it for like 5 weeks now.
Dude, that's pretty fucking good.
Yeah, at our old store, like we usually averaged about 120 a month students. And that was mainly because we sort of maxed out, like we didn't have any more room. So that's what we could handle.
Nice.
Now, if someone
So it's
say
worth
they come in, they say, "Hey, Aaron, I want to learn how to play Meshuggah. I want you to teach me how to play Meshuggah music." Is that something you guys do? Will you teach somebody like, "Hey, you want to learn one style? That's fine," or do you do like a program to get to that point? Like, if somebody's already a musician and they say, "I want to learn how to play Bleed by Meshuggah," can you bring them in and be like, "Yeah, okay, here we go"?
Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, if someone's already playing and they just want help learning like a particular style or technique, yeah, we can do that. If we have a beginner that comes in and says that, we'll say, sure, we can get you there, but we got a few steps before you're gonna do it.
See,
we got some steps before.
One of the things I picked up on early in because again, I started drumming when I was 5. And I think my first time, my dad tried to teach me, and it didn't work because I just didn't want to listen to my dad. You know what I mean?
I hear it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I went to this, my dad took me to this one teacher, and it just, I don't know if I was too young or what, it just didn't click. And I wasn't doing it. It didn't work for me. So I dropped that. And then I was kind of self-taught for a long time, but I was also going to a school with a music focus, private instruction at school, jazz band, orchestra, you know what I mean? Like I was getting it from school, and then I would take that and come home and put on a Slipknot record and figure it out from there. And then, I got an amazing teacher who, by the way, Daryl, I've never mentioned, maybe you might have mentioned this the first time Mangini was on the pod. Kerry Watson, who was my drum teacher, was actually a student of Mike Mangini's at Berkeley. And then years later, and we come all full circle. But I met this amazing drummer, Kerry Watson, who sold me my first big drum kit. Guitar Center was a red Gretsch Catalina Birch 7-piece. And I studied with him for like 3-4 years. And then I stopped. Some things came up, and then I would go back and get a lesson or two here or there. Then I would start finding other people, Matt Halperns of the world, the Mike Manginis of the world. And I would just like take a lesson or two here or there. And I learned really early. I was like, oh, dude, you don't have to make this like a regiment, like you don't have to do it every week. Like when you get to a certain point and you want to brush up on something, you want to learn something, go find a teacher, find a different teacher. Like, yeah, it's great to go to the laboratory and go soup to nuts. But like, once you get to a certain point, you can go find another teacher, or maybe there's a different teacher that does different style. And like, I wish I would have known that maybe 5-6 years earlier, that like the trick is really learning from a bunch of people at the same time. And you get that different perspective. And like, I was really focused on metal, but I'm studying with this guy who was an expert in Latin grooves, and gospel drumming. And like that influenced my style. So then once I started gigging with a metal band, I had this really unique thing that stood out, but it was only because I went and spent 2 years with a guy that only taught me Latin percussion.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the truth. I think you hit there's a point where you get to a certain level, and the best thing for you once you're at that point is more perspectives and more ideas, because it's like, okay, I got all the fundamentals down. Like now I need new thoughts to come into my head, new fresh perspectives on playing and music and stuff like that. And that's, you only get that from other people.
And I think it's great to get, if I had a 5-year-old today that wanted to learn music, it's great to like get their interest with stuff that they want to learn and give them that, like, okay, we're going to do Smoke on the whatever. And you get them early on things they want to learn. And then it's like, okay, we're going to study Indian percussion. Like we're going to get weird, and like, I'm going to teach you about this counting method, and like, and you learn these things you don't want to learn. And that's hard to do for like especially like a young teenager who's like, I'm trying to play guitar to get chicks, bro. Like, what the fuck are you talking to me about samba? When am I going to play samba? And I'm like, listen, there's going to be a time. Maybe you get a gig playing with a Latin band. There's going to be a lot of ladies there wanting to dance. Like, trust me. That's the other thing with music. Like, very lonely. Like, if you start young, it's a very lonely, kind of nerdy, almost socially excluded pursuit, until if you keep up with it long enough and you get good enough. And then once you're like 19, 20, 21, And then all of a sudden it shifts and you're cool as shit. And you're playing in bars and clubs and there's girls or guys or whatever you're into. And then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, well, you guys were going and playing softball or whatever the fuck. I was in there learning my Latin grooves, and now look who's dancing to my beat, you know?
That's right.
Circle of life, man.
Up here on the stage looking like a golden god, just like I intended. It's all coming together. It's all coming together.
Love it.
And you know, to the every man and every woman listening to this podcast, hey, look, it's not all about meeting ladies and guys and stuff. Like it's just a nice cross section of being a musician. It's a
little side benefit.
Yeah.
Although you can outkick your coverage and fall into,
I think all three of us here on this podcast,
we all outkicked our coverage. We all did.
Yeah, we're all blessed and highly
favored. Yes, we are.
Now, on that topic, as we wind down here, what's it like for you playing in a band with your wife as the front lady, front gal?
Yeah, dude.
What's that like for you from a band member perspective?
It's for us. It's totally cool. Like, first of all, like my nature, I'm like really laid back anyway. Like I don't really usually it takes a lot to get me like kind of flustered or pissed off or fired up. So that probably helps. But what also helps, I think, is there's a lot of respect for the skills. Like Farrah's a top-notch singer. Like she is. And so there's never any kind of awkwardness because like, maybe I'm sitting there going, oh, you didn't really do that well, I never had that happen. So that makes things pretty easy. If she wasn't as skilled as she is, maybe we wouldn't even be doing it because then, it could create some weirdness. So
she's got a great stage presence.
It's a lot of fun. Great she's cool. She's great.
Crowd likes her. Yeah, and we talked about it on the pod. I wasn't just saying it. I mean, she can really sing and
chops.
Like there's a you need to be able to sing and you got to have the charisma. And like you can look at somebody like, I'm a huge Guns N' Roses fan, and I'm not taking a shot at Axl Rose at all, but like if you sat Axl Rose down next to Seal and Celine Dion, and you said, who's the pick? Choose two singers. Axl Rose would not be the guy that you'd be like, now that's a vocal talent right there, but like he had his unique thing plus an unlimited supply of charisma and presence. And it's like, it works. Vince Neil's another one. I mean, how many times you see Vince Neil, these videos come out where and you're like, oh God, dude, it's time, but he's still killing it. It works. It still works for him. Yeah. So like you've got to have, if you can sing and you have presence and you have that intangible it factor, you can get a lot done.
Yeah, for sure.
I got to ask one question, and it's been burning my brain ever since Farrah was on the pod with us. And I asked her this question too. And she had a really kind of meticulous way of kind of basically dispensing all the information. But I want to ask you, since you're the second part of the dynamic duo,
okay,
how in the hell do you guys make all that you do work? Like your retail, 2 bands, like lessons and everything, and modeling and freaking, and then also find time. Like we're all married here, so like I'm here that I'll rock 86 hours a week here at NFL Films cutting shit. Like I'm here now. I'll probably be here till I'm at work right now. I'll probably be here till like 11 o'clock. But like you guys still are able to do all of that and then find time for each other. That shit should be on like a stone tablet for like 500 years down the line for people to figure this shit out. Like, how do you do it? Like, that's crazy to me. Crazy.
I would say 1 is Google Calendar, and 2 is we don't have kids, so I got to imagine.
But you got a dog, so like
a big part of it.
Your dog parents,
but the dog can sleep all day at home. It's got to be a big part of it because like if we had kids, I don't think we could be doing a lot of things that we do. we wouldn't have time. So
throw a couple soccer practices in there, the whole thing is off.
Yeah, because some of a lot of my friends that have kids stopped playing music for many years, and or some of them are now just coming back to it because their kids are getting old enough to be left alone and stuff like that. So I think that's just being truthful. That's probably a big part of it, is the fact that we missed the window on having kids, and because we got married pretty late. So
I still don't understand. It's just only 24 hours in the day, and you're still rolling. She's still roll. When she told us her schedule,
yeah, it's pretty wild.
And then she's like, "Oh, and I also got to do it. I also got to do this. Me and Aaron got to do this thing, and we got to have our date night, and then we got to do." Then I'm like, "What the fuck? How's?" Yeah,
but you'll also see me we'll be sitting there watching a movie tonight, and I'll have the laptop out doing work for the website and stuff. So it gets a lot of multitasking and stuff.
that's why you're an everyman. It's that everyman grind, man.
It's true. Very true.
You just gotta hustle,
Absolutely.
Hell yeah, dude.
Last a little bit here before we went down and we get the plugs in. Now, I asked you what your influences were when you were starting out. Now, obviously, you're still a working musician. You're still listening to music. I'm assuming you listen to current stuff as well. It's like my cross to bear to try and alert as many humans in this world to Meshuggah. So I try to talk about them once every 2 to 4 episodes. I try to bring it up. What kind of who are you listening to now? Is there any what kind of stuff are you getting influenced by, or what are you enjoying right now, music wise?
Man, I'm all over the place all the time. Over the last I don't know, 10 years, my favorite bands have included Soundgarden, Death Cab for Cutie, Nevermore.
Nevermore.
Those really stand out for me. And and now they're gone.
That's Jeff Loomis.
Shame. That's Jeff Loomis's band.
He's sick.
But the singer passed away, so they're gone. But I was just listening to them the other day, one of their albums from a few years ago. I'm like, man, it's so badass. But just kind of all over the place. I like a lot of different metal stuff. I like a lot of alt rock stuff. I like my grunge. I like my hair metal. So there's a lot of new bands that I actually like a lot. But I might not know the names of them. I just hear it on Sirius or something like that, and I'm just like, this is a good jam, but I don't know what it is.
Well, I'll tell you what. As a guitar player, you'll appreciate this. This is the last time I'm going to say this on the podcast today. Check out Meshuggah and check out Animals as Leaders.
I know both of them. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Because I was going to say, some kid's going to come in and be like, "Hey, I want to play an 8-string," and you're going to be like, "What the fuck?"
Oh yeah.
Dude, I don't know where they're going next, especially the stuff that Tosin Abasi is doing with the 8-strings. But I don't know how guitar can get any better in the next 10 years, but he's going to be the one to do it. And you're and then you see kids doing it. It's a great time to be a musician. All the technology, between the Axe effects and the recording equipment. I remember when I was getting out of high school, it was a reasonable thing, maybe reasonable, but sort of reasonable thing to be like, I'm going to go to college to learn how to be a recording engineer. And thank God I didn't do that, because I know a lot of guys my age that went out and have $200,000 worth of loan debt still to learn how to use Pro Tools. And it's boy, did that change,
Yep.
And
Big
now
time.
there's no you're gonna go to school okay, good luck with that. Or you go to school to drink water too,
Yeah.
There's no need, there's no need for it. So Aaron, where can somebody wants to check out the laboratory, maybe take a look at what you have online? What's the best way to keep up with the business and engage and maybe pick up a new microphone?
So the website is thelaboratory.com, laboratory.com. And we're on Instagram and Facebook as the Laboratory Music Store. It's pretty easy to find. You'll see that thing.
Nice.
The Adam
you
the
know,
guitar
yeah,
out.
you'll see the Atom, with the guitar. And that's where we're at. But the laboratory.com is where our inventory is and information. There's a blog that's up there that doesn't get updated as much as it should, but it's there.
Where can we go to catch you strumming like a fucking badass for the Sanctuary? Where can we go to see that?
Sanctuary, yeah, we didn't even talk about that, but you can see that at Racks in Atco, New Jersey. I think next Saturday, maybe the one after that. Locally though, around South Jersey all the time, with Sunset Strip and Sanctuary, Tom and Jerry's in Pennsylvania, Laughing Fox, Racks, everywhere they have live music, those bands were playing there. So
that's
sweetness.
Awesome. That's awesome. And social media, everything on there for your bands there? Where can people?
Yeah, Facebook, Sanctuary 90s, 90S. And Sunset Strip is Sunset Strip Band NJ.
That's awesome.
So it's on Facebook.
Well, I'll tell you what, Aaron, you're just like your let's call her the better half. You're an absolutely definition of an everyman. It's been a great conversation. Love to have you back on and hear all about what's going on with the laboratory. And all those links are going to be in the show notes. So if you're listening to this episode on your podcast platform of choice, thank you for listening. We hope you subscribe, leave a review for us. Tell us what you like. Scroll up on your app. The link to the laboratory will be right there for you to check it out. And if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe. Look how handsome we are. If you want to see more of this, subscribe. You can get all of this right here on YouTube. And Aaron, you're the man. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us. And we wish you the best. And we'll see you soon, brother.
Thanks very much, guys. I appreciate it.